What's going on YouTube? Josh here checking in. Welcome back to the Strength.Home Gym. Today we're going to talk about really how does it work when you just don't have that much time to train. How do you make that happen and how do you get those training sessions in? So before we really dive into the topic of how do those training sessions work, I think it's really important to take a step back and ask yourself, do you really not have the time or are you not making the time? Because there's a huge difference. We all have different degrees of, responsibilities, work, school, kids, etc., etc. What we all have is the same 24 hours in the day. And it might sound cliche, but the reality is that's how it is, guys. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, do you not have the time or are you not making the time? Is there a way for you to be more efficient with how you're using your time, right? For example, when I was in medical school for much of my first 2 years, pretty much all my first half of medical school, I was taking the metro to school. And so it was maybe a 10 or 15 minute commute each way. So I could use those 15 minutes each way and study, do flashcards on my phone or read a book or something like that. Well, guess what? That 15 minutes each way is now an extra 30 minutes of my day that I don't have to spend studying because I've already done it. And now I have an extra 30 minutes to do whatever I want. In this case, perhaps use it towards my training. That's just one simple example. But the reality is that there are a lot of ways where you can look in your life and say, is there something I can be doing more efficiently? Another sort of quick technique that you can do is just stick to a schedule. I'm not suggesting that you have to schedule every minute of your life. Obviously, you need to have some degree of spontaneity and some time with your friends and your family and things like that. But if you stick to a schedule, it can definitely make things a lot easier. And honestly, when I was in medical school studying for boards, studying 10 or 12 hours a day, I still managed to train 4 or 5, sometimes 6 times a week for up to 2 hours at a time. The only way I was able to do that is because I stuck to a strict schedule. So let's say that you have evaluated that, right? You've looked at your schedule, you figured out how to be more efficient, you've maximized your time, and you're doing a pretty good job. But sometimes shit happens, life happens, right? And for some reason, you just don't have the time to train. So what do? Last week, I was switching between days and nights. I was planning on getting in an hour-long leg workout, and I overslept. My sleep schedule was all messed up. My day-night schedule was all messed up. Sometimes it happens. So I woke up, I only had 30 minutes from the time I woke up, the time I needed to leave the house. Now, I could have just said, screw it, I'm not gonna train, but that's not what I did. I thought, realistically, I've got about 20 minutes of training, 5 minutes of shower, 5 minutes to make a protein shake, and make sure I pack my bag, get out the door. So in this 20 minutes of training time, I knew there was gonna be about 2-3 minutes of warming up, the most, and then the rest for training. Now, when you just have such little time to train, it's not a good idea to be whipping out the dumbbells and doing a bunch of little isolation movements. The reality is you need to get the most bang for your buck in that short amount of time. That means compound lifts, means probably not a whole lot of compound lifts, and it means you're gonna use short rest intervals. In order to use these short rest intervals, it's really important that you have a timer, something preferably that beeps at you. That way you're really staying strict. This is not the time to be posting your Instagram photos in between each set, because if you're doing this appropriately, you're not gonna have time for that. You're gonna be barely catching your breath when you're getting to your next set. And the reality is something like this is gonna look much closer to a CrossFit workout than to a standard, just general strength training or powerlifting workout for that matter. So for example, in this training session, what I did is I put a small amount of weight on the bar. I did front squats for sets of 10 with 1 minute rest interval. My goal was to do that until I was pretty much toasted. I could have set a specific number of sets, although this is something that I hadn't done in a very long time, and I wasn't sure how many I would be able to do. So by the time I was done with that, I was able to get in about 100 reps of front squats. And now I've used up the majority of my time of training. So now I quickly basically strip the bar, put it on the ground, and get set up for deadlifts. And now I did basically sets of 5 every minute on the minute of deadlifts. So instead of using a 1 minute rest interval, in this case, I just keep the timer basically going, and I would start a new set on the minute. Now, this is something that you see in CrossFit workout of the days all the time, but it's not something that a lot of powerlifters employ. And for good reason, right? You know, if you're just general strength training, this is not really ideal. But if you don't have a lot of time, it's a very efficient way to get in a decent workout. Now, of course, when you're using these short rest intervals, you're not going to be using heavy weights. Using short rest intervals at heavy weights is a surefire way to get yourself injured, and that's not what this is for. This is to prevent you from not working out, right? Because oftentimes getting in at least some workout is better than getting in no workout. And again, this is not something I'm doing on a routine basis. This is something when catastrophe strikes and you don't have much time to train, but you still want to get in a training session. Stuff like that is what I would recommend. Stick to compound lifts, use weights that are much lighter than you're used to, and short rest intervals. And again, don't go crazy trying to do 4, 5, 6 different exercises. If you've got 20 minutes, I wouldn't do more than maybe 3 different compound exercises. The reality is when you start making it a little bit too complicated, you're probably just not gonna get as much benefit out of it as you think. And you know, just keep it simple. If the more time you spend changing the weights around and changing the position of your barbell, all of that is going to eat into your time of your workout. And that's another reason why kind of keeping it simple is the way to go. So anyway, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions about time management, being efficient, quick workouts, or really anything else, please post them in the comment section below. I'd also love to hear kind of what are some of the workouts that you guys have done when you have just no time to train. Maybe you don't even have time to go to the gym and you do a home workout. I'm really would love to hear what you guys have done in the past in these sorts of experiences. This is just my take on it. It's not necessarily, there's not necessarily one right way to do it, but this is what I found works for me. So anyway, guys, I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks for tuning in, and till then, stay tuned.